Hello, and welcome back to the Enneagram Edge. This is Margot Zaire, your host, and I'm excited today to chat about the decisive leader under stress when power turns into control. So, if you're naturally strong and decisive and a protective leader, this episode is for you. Decisive leaders have enormous value to an organization or a room. They're often the ones that step up quickly. They make those hard calls. They protect the people. They hold the line under pressure. And they bring strength and direction when others are hesitating. They have this presence. They have this courage. They're willing to move. And in many environments, that kind of leadership is really needed. But like every other leadership type, decisiveness has a shadow side under stress. Because when pressure rises, what normally looks like stress can start hardening into control and become too controlling. And that's the tension we're going to explore today. We're going to explore the difference between power and control, between strong leadership and dominance, between protecting a team and unintentionally suppressing its power. So, for the decisive leader, stress does not always look chaotic on the outside. It may look even more powerful than other types. It may have more certainty, more direction, more intensity, more taking charge. But underneath, something else is happening. That's right. When the leader becomes stressed, they begin to over control. They begin to delegate less. They begin to trust others less. And they start making decisions from a unilateral place, just pushing for their decisions and not listening to what other people have to say. They make decisions from a place of other people complying and not contributing. So, because the decisive leader often wants strength and forward movement, they push their agenda on others. But under stress, the very way they try to create that can unintentionally reduce autonomy, ownership, and innovation in the people around them. Why does this happen? At their very best, decisive leaders operate from a very strong, grounded power. They know how to act. They know how to protect their people. They know how to move things forward. They're very clear on the strategy that needs to be adopted. They know where the team needs to go. But under stress, things change. The nervous system can start interpreting uncertainty and inefficiency or lack of control in others as a threat to forward movement. And this is what can happen. The impulse can often be, I need to take over. I need to make sure things get done right. I can't wait around. I can't let things fall apart. So instead of inviting contribution, this leader tightens the reins on control. Instead of creating ownership, they start centralizing decision-making in themselves. And instead of empowering their team, they become the force everyone has to adapt to. That's right. They start steamrolling over people. And while this may create short-term success, short-term speed, it often comes with a long-term cost. That's right. Because strong leaders do not just shape results, they shape the environment around them. And when people feel over-directed, overridden, steamrolled, subtly maybe intimidated, a few things start to happen in the organization. They stop taking initiative. That's right, they wait around for the decisive leader to take initiative. They stop being bold with ideas that move things forward because they become afraid to suggest things. They wait to be told what to do instead of taking initiative themselves. They try to play it safe because they don't want to go against the grain. And they protect themselves from the decisive leader, from them getting upset at them or steamrolling them, instead of being innovative and pushing against and suggesting new ideas. So even though the decisive leader may believe they are driving performance, they may actually be shrinking the leadership capacity of the people around them. This is when this decisiveness can turn into dominance. It may not always be loud, this dominance, and not always intentional, but it can be systematic. It can change the system that everyone's operating in. This dominance can become apparent in the relationships of the team to the decisive leader. So the hidden fear underneath this control is what we want to dive into, because beneath this control is often a vulnerability. So for many decisive leaders, control is not really about being arrogant. It's often more about protection. Right? It's a protection from failure. It's a protection from betrayal from the team and others, a protection from appearing weakness or vulnerable to others, a protection from chaos, things going awry and not in the right direction. It's a protection from being exposed, their vulnerability being exposed to others. So they're actually protecting themselves with this controlling energy. It's really an attempt to stay powerful by not showing their vulnerability. And that's the problem. The problem is when the strength no longer leaves room for trust and collaboration or shared ownership in the team. Because true power requires that the leader can hold strength and openness. True power requires direction and collaboration, authority and empowerment for the team members. This is the path to growth. So it's not about becoming less powerful as a decisive leader, because becoming powerful in a way, it's about becoming powerful in a way that really expands others instead of constricting them. This is what real leadership looks like. So here are a few signs that a decisive leader may be in the middle of a stress hijack. You step in too quickly to solve other people's problems instead of letting them find the solutions. You delegate tasks, but not actual decision-making authority. You don't give any ownership. You take that over. You feel irritated when others are slower, less direct, or less certain than you are. So you start taking over. You become more intense, more directive, and less receptive to other people's ideas. And people become quieter around you. They stop collaborating with you. They stop interjecting or giving ideas. You carry too much responsibility on your shoulders because you don't trust that other people will be able to handle it. So here's the key. This doesn't mean that you're a bad leader. It just means that you are under stress. And under stress, your strengths have been distorted. That's right. Your goal here is to become aware of this pattern so that you can interrupt it and you can get to true empowerment for yourself and your team. So here are 2 reset levers that are very helpful for the decisive leader. So reset lever number 1 is to delegate the decision rights. Give others the ability to make decisions. This is one of the biggest traps for decisive leaders, is not allowing others to actually make the decision. You may hold someone's hand, but you don't really give them the full power. You may allow them to execute, but they do not own the task or responsibility. So a powerful reset to ask yourself is this: what decisions am I holding on to that I could let go of, that are not necessary for me to hold on to? It's not just about giving away tasks, but it's about giving away these decision rights, the authority to make a decision. What decision rights can I release today that can help empower my team? What can this person decide without me needing to give permission every step of the way? Because when you delegate decision rights, you create ownership for the other members of your team. You develop these leaders. You build capacity for them to lead themselves, for ownership of tasks and responsibilities. And you stop reinforcing the dynamic where everything has to run through you. This is not a loss of power. This is mature leadership. Reset lever number 2, ask before directing. So when stress arises, decisive leaders often default to telling people what to do. This needs to happen. Telling people what to do next, how things should go. They become very directive. So what can really be helpful is to ask yourself in these moments of stress, ask other people to collaborate with you with specific questions like, what do you think is the best next step? What are you seeing that I may not be seeing here? How would you approach this? What decisions do you feel comfortable making here? So these sorts of questions give the other person autonomy. It signals trust to them. It restores ownership, or at least partial ownership, to other people on the team. And it also allows for innovation to occur. It allows for input from other people. And often what you will discover when you ask these questions is that your team truly has great ideas that are going to help innovation. Because innovation rarely thrives in environments where people feel overpowered. It thrives in environments where people feel that they can be trusted, right? Trusted to think, to contribute, to own, to have ownership. So if you're a decisive leader, your strength is real. Your authority is real. Your courage is real. Your protective instinct is real. But your next level of leadership does not come from becoming more forceful. It comes from learning how to loosen the controls. It comes from recognizing when stress is making your grip harder, right, than it actually requires. It comes from understanding that the strongest leader in the room is not always the one with the tightest hold. Sometimes the strongest leader is the one that's powerful enough to create the right space for innovation, to share authority, to collaborate with others, to let others be empowered in decision making. Because this shift is from control to power and empowerment for the team. And this is where your leadership not only becomes strong, but it becomes truly transformative for the team and the organization. So if this conversation resonated with you and you're recognizing how strength may be impacting your leadership more than you've realized before, be sure to download my resource, The Burnout Code. It will help you identify some of the hidden patterns that drive the stress, the overwhelm, the burnout, so you can begin to shift out of them. And you can find this link in the show notes. So if you found this episode helpful, be sure to follow this podcast so you don't miss future episodes on leadership, stress, and how to leverage your Enneagram for greater success. And thanks so much for joining me today on this episode of the Enneagram Edge. I'll see you next time.